David Suzuki by Terry Barber. In the forest, a man, a girl, and a boy are walking. It is hot. They have no water. They are thirsty. They are sweating. They walk across an open space. The open space used to be a forest. The forest has been clear cut. It is hard to walk. They have to walk around stumps and roots. The ground is not even. Big machines have torn up the soil. The area is like a war zone. There is no life. The three people leave the clear-cut area. They enter a forest. The forest seems like another planet. In the forest, the air is fresh. In the forest, the trees give shade. In the forest, there is life. In the forest, the people find water. In the forest, the man feels nature. In the clear-cut area, the man sees greed. The man is David Suzuki. The girl and the boy are his children. David Suzuki is a scientist. He is also an activist. Early years. David is born on March 24th, 1936. He has a twin sister. Her name is Marcia. David is born in British Columbia. He is Japanese-Canadian. World War II starts in 1939. David is 3 years old. 2 years later, Canada and Japan are at war. Japanese Canadians are placed in internment camps. The government sends 22,000 Japanese Canadians to internment camps. David's family is sent to an internment camp. There is no school. David has lots of time to play outside. David walks in the forest. He sees bears and wolves and deer. David catches fish in the lake. David learns to love nature. David's family is sent to a camp in the Rocky Mountains. The next year, a school is built. David starts grade 1. He is 7 years old. He can only speak English. Most of the other children can speak Japanese. David feels like an outsider. World War II ends in 1945. David's family moves to a small town in Ontario. David spends lots of time outside. He likes to collect insects. He likes to pick mushrooms. After the war, the government orders Japanese Canadians to leave British Columbia. Teenage years. David's family moves to London, Ontario. David starts grade 10. David finds it hard to make new friends. He feels like an outsider again. Nature becomes his friend. He fishes in the river. He hikes in the swamp. David spends time in a swamp. There are 2 groups of students in David's high school. The innies are the cool kids. They play sports. David belongs to the outies. He does not play sports. The outies want David to run for school president. David thinks he will lose. David's father says, "It is okay to lose." David decides to run. He wins and becomes school president. David learns that outies have lots of power when they unite. David becomes a scientist. David finishes high school in 1954. He has a goal. He wants to be a scientist. David goes to the university. He works hard. He gets his PhD in 1961. People call him Dr. David Suzuki. David studies biology. David gets a job at a university. David teaches science. The students like him. He is a good teacher. He also works in the lab. David studies fruit flies. He works long hours. David and the media. In the 1970s, David begins to host TV programs. In 1971, David hosts his first program. It's called Suzuki on Science. In 1979, David hosts The Nature of Things. David uses TV to teach people about science. The Nature of Things is on TV in over 90 countries. In the 1980s, David begins to write books. He writes books for adults. He writes books for children. David has written more than 40 books. The books help people to understand science. David protects the earth. David marries Tara Cullis in 1971. They have 2 children. The family works together to protect the earth. For example, they recycle their garbage. They throw out only 1 bag of garbage each month. David and Tara form the David Suzuki Foundation. It teaches people how to protect the earth. David knows that we need forests. Forests help to clean the air. Forests help to clean the water. Forests are a home to animals. The forests provide food to animals. And when a forest is clear-cut, we all suffer. David works with other people to save the forests. One of the forests is in Windy Bay. Loggers want to cut down the trees. The trees are very old. People protest the logging. The government decides to protect the trees. In 1987, Windy Bay becomes a park. Windy Bay is on an island off the coast of British Columbia. David goes to Brazil in 1988. He learns that Brazil wants to build dams. The dams will flood the rainforest. David works with an Indian leader. The leader's name is Payakan. They protest the dams. Brazil does not build the dams. Payakan is a leader of the Kayapo Indians. They live in Brazil's rainforest. David wants people to help save the earth. We are losing our forests. We need to change how we treat the earth. We can all do our part to help the earth. We cannot wait for others to save the earth. Glossary. Biology. Biology is the study of living animals or plants. Clear-cut. An area where the entire forest cover is removed. Host. A person who interviews people on a TV show. Internment camps. A place where people are forced to live during a war. Logger. A person who cuts down trees for a living. Logging. The removal of trees from the forest for lumber. Protest. To complain about something. Unite. To bring or join together.